Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Our Monday edition continues with such a beautiful conversation. Speaking of the Lilliput Children's Theatre 2024 production, Time Longer Than Twine. It's happening at Queen's Hall on the 18th and 19th of May. And joining us this morning is Wendell Manwarren, Creative Director, no stranger to the Now Morning Show, to share with us a little bit about it. Good morning.
Good morning, Natasha. Morning, Anka.
How are you doing?
I'm good, real pleasure to be here.
It's excellent to have you here, and I'm really excited for this production because what it focuses on is that relationship with social media and speaking about the intergenerational relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us a little bit about this theme and how it came about.
I found that, working with the young people of Lilliput Theatre, I've been working with them. Next year will be 30 years. I just have to do the maths. 1995 is when I started. And working with them, I'm always continue to be amazed at how aware they are and how much they take on board.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to express themselves is always encouraging, healthy, and surprising. And of course, we live in social media times. So one of the things I've observed over that time is that, they're well into their own social media. As soon as we take a little break in class, they pull out their phones and they're like, yo, we're in class, put away your phone. So that as we have my notes, like you need to have a journal to write in your book and all. So it's a real challenge to make them come on board with the idea that put the phone aside for a minute and let's just focus on this and connect with each other in a real way. So that's an ongoing challenge. So we've been incorporating the challenges around their use of social media over the last couple of years. But this year, one of the things, the twist I put on it is, it came up in one of our shows a couple of years ago about the idea of intergenerational connections. And a lot of the kids, understanding or taking time to understand what happened before them. So this time I said, I want you to go and talk to your mommy, your daddy, your granny, your grandfather, and ask them what life was like for them in their days before social media.
Pre-pandemic.
Even before that, just find out. And for me, it was also about empathy building.
Yeah.
It was about them understanding that, don't take for granted where we are now.
Yeah.
And understand that, there was a time before this time where we had plenty time on our hands. And how did we fill the void?
That's going to be an interesting conversation to unfurl, and particularly using the medium of dance and theatre.
Yes.
How does that actually translate for the viewing audience, for consumption? What does that look like?
So this year we're taking a storytelling approach. And so I try to kill many birds with one stone. So one of the things that came up in the class is, the difference between a side eye and a cut eye. And I was like, a side eye can't compare to a cut eye. In terms of,
this is fact.
Correct.
This is fact.
So that led us down the path of, do you know our local expressions and idioms? Drawing a blank.
Really?
Yeah. Time longer than twine. One day Congote. Today for youth, tomorrow for me. Clearing ground for Guti to run. And all these sort of things, right? Kotesi kotela. Things that we take for granted. And things that are disappearing in time.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, you know what? Our storytelling approach was going to be, I said, go and listen to Paul King's Douglas, Tanti Merla Duval, just to get a frame. And I said, we're going to tell our stories using these idioms. And then I also took an approach where it's a collective storytelling approach. So I'd say to you, Anika, I'd say, one time it had a boy. And you'd say, what kind of boy? Well, he was a tall, skinny boy. What else? Well, nothing special about this boy. And they keep adding and adding and adding and adding. So, of course, by the time it makes the rounds, it doesn't necessarily end up where it started. And then at the end, people could contest the ending. They could come and say, no, that's not what I hear.
Yeah.
I hear so and so and so.
Very good.
So it also deals with that whole idea of, how information is spread, how we see things, what our perspective is. But it's fun because to get the kids talking about crapo, smoke your pipe, and things like that.
Spell crapo.
Yeah, it sounds like so much fun. And I mean, of course, we want to hear more about the production. This is one of the reasons that you're here. But I'm very invested in hearing about if you've seen a change in the children since you started working on this.
Absolutely, and I see it all the time, There have been times when I'm working on a production and I decided we were doing a treatment of Romeo and Juliet. But not all of it is too long. And then just find the juicy bits that we could relate to. And then I decided we were going to set it in Tobago.
Oh, nice.
So the whole idea was Tobago love.
Right.
And then we use only shadow music. So that gave it a context. So at first when you put on the shadow music, it's like, what is that? After 2-3 sessions, they're singing.
Very good.
By the time the show done, they know all the songs.
Very good.
So idle business, if you like it or you ain't like it, you're going to learn something on my watch.
Well, we
and invariably they do.
People do actually like it and attend, more importantly, on the 18th and the 19th. So the tickets are out already? We can get those tickets?
Yes, 120 at Queen's Hall box office. You can give them a call at the box office. I don't know your number at the top of my head.
I mean, everybody knows how to find
Queen's Hall box office.
My reason for mentioning that, my reason for mentioning that is because, of course, this is the culmination of a good body of work with these students, and so there will continue to be these workshops, if you will.
Yes, so they actually run, the Lilliput sessions run with the school year.
Right.
Okay.
So we start in September, we take a break for Christmas, just like school, start back. Easter is when I come in and we make the show. So Alicia Bartels and Tonya Evans, they're the tutors, and they work with them. I liaise with them as to what we might be wanting to work on. They keep journaling, writing their stories. And then by the time I come in, I said, okay, what have you got? What you work on? It's like, okay, nothing, let me start from scratch. Just like we did with this one. They did start, I did say to Alicia, get them to find their grandparents. So that for me was, I said, that's all your background work. You know, we will use some of those elements of those stories, but now we're going to kusume it with all these lovely expressions.
I'm going to say all the ways they use these words that we be like, Grandma, what you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So the real name of the show is Time Longer Than Twine, and other things my grandpa, grandma, mama, and father told me that I never took time to fully understand and or appreciate.
And that cannot fit in the CG. So we're going with Time Longer Than Twine. Got it.
And we can definitely appreciate that as well, because I and Code have said there are some expressions you hear and you'll be like, wait, what? But that you also mentioned something else, quote to see, quote to that, which is such a great way to continue to pass down. I love the fact that we're seeing you actually bring this to life with the storytelling as well. With your experience, you mentioned that you've seen a change in your children, but I can also imagine that you've helped forge better relationships within the family itself. Have you seen that?
I would like to think so. I mean, you get the feedback from the parents.
Yeah.
Or, you know, sometimes like one of the guys got a story from his grandfather, and then I said, okay, let's start where he said, but I don't think I want to tell that story. I said, well, fine, respect you. That was your research.
Right.
Let's make up a story.
Based on it?
Yeah, using whatever elements you want to use from it, because my main thing is you sit down and you talk to your grandfather, you got a little chance to learn from him.
Yeah.
You know? As a matter of fact, at the end of the stories, because we do 3 stories, one is called Time Longer Than Twine, one is called One Day Kongote, and the other is called Who Were Dead Badly Wounded. And the final story is, you know, lessons learned along the way.
Right.
So what have they learned from the process? What have they learned from engaging with each other, with their parents, with their grandparents? And that ties it up in a neat little bow.
It sounds like it does. Wendell, how long is the runtime for this show?
I don't know, you know, we're going to work on that today. I think we have more than we need, so it's always better to have more so we could just chop and suit. But yeah, I think we're in good shape. We have the everything down, more or less. It's just we're going to be running hard this week and really cleaning up. And the kids work hard, and I like to crack the whip, you know, make sure everything is in tip-top shape. And they're having fun, you know. Saturday was tough because I was like, why are you moving like you're in Lagley so? But after 3 o'clock, I was like, okay, class over, it's too hot. It was simply too hot to work.
Yeah, I mean, these days, you're looking
and you have to take that on board too, you know.
Yeah, see, as things have changed, we've seen ourselves evolve with digital world. We've also seen the temperature increase as well. So what we were used to doing, rehearsing outside for hours on end with no AC. I mean, these children have AC now in their spaces.
So, you know, they couldn't operate in the studio with no AC. With nice breeze blowing,
yeah.
But, you know, as soon as they get them, we break down their phone again. So that's life.
You have to do a phone check next time.
Well, we're going to connect with them, whether or not they're on the phone, as we're heading to Queen's Hall on the 18th and 19th.
Yeah.
Time Longer Than Twine, and other stories that we didn't take the time to learn.
Yeah, along the
brought to you by the Lilliput Children's Theatre. The 2024 production.
It's also in combination with the Noble Douglas Dance Company. So there's that component of it too. The kids tell their stories, then the dance company does this thing, and then the kids come and wrap it up.
Excellent.
So,
and for that, we thank you, Wendell, for always being a contributor to the culture in many, many ways. Joining us on the morning show this morning to tell us about events to add to our calendar. But when we come back, we are celebrating Indian Heritage Month here on the Now Morning Show. You don't want to miss it.